Ruler School is brought to you by Odyssey Games, where you can go to pre-order upcoming Force of Will sets, ccgprime.com for singles and supplies, cardodoko.com for those rulers in the international market looking for product, the Ruler School Circuit Series now taking orders on our Q4 2024 circuit kits, and to our guest lecturer members, Bite Ramen and Casey Madden. Class is in session. Hey there, rulers. Welcome back after a long week of Force of Will and to reading too many cards to your favorite ever live Force of Will podcast is Office Hours, featuring myself, DMO73, and I'm joined, as always, by Paul Reisman, finally pulling out his ABC decks.
I have to read all these cards we're going to talk about tonight.
And Ayush, Mr. Shunpo himself.
How's it going, everyone?
We're good. We're good. Thank you for joining us. Last week, we had a great discussion pre-recorded on Alice Origins Cluster, which was super fun to have that conversation with Casey. But now we are back. We've got a ban list to kind of talk about, and we've got our kind of initial thoughts about the finality of the full set and kind of things that we're interested in about it, our thoughts about what we're going to do on the ban list there. And we got a lot of things to talk about that were updated because of the ABC decks. So, exciting. Y'all excited?
Heck yeah.
Paul's crying silently for Aspiring Diva. He hasn't said it yet, but he's crying inside about Aspiring Diva.
I'm so mad.
I'm mad for you, and then I'm like, nah, it's fine. After being turn one diva'd into grab mirror so many times when we've been playing, I'm okay. I'm okay with Aspiring Diva.
Okay, but like, how many of those games did I actually win?
You know what? Fair point. fair self-own there.
Just give me good things. Blue hasn't gotten good things in a while.
Blue has Blue has plenty of good things. Have you read any of the Ruchiel cards? So we have a lot to talk about, particularly. I do want to talk about our initial. We're going to start with our initial thoughts about the new set overall, kind of what we're most excited about, especially now that we've seen the full set. There were some pretty out of left field cards that I think have some pretty meta relevant implications that I think for both creative and competitive players alike. But I have those cards in my head that I'd like to talk about. But first, kind of taste of the new cards, Paul and Shunpo. What's catching your eye?
Just like from the new set.
The new
ABC
set, yeah, the
stuff,
new
or-
set, yeah. We've talked about ABC stuff before, but the new set.
Okay. Yeah. So I had to go back because we're in the week of getting the ban list. So
Yeah.
I was like, all right, now it's like let's start like reading cards again. Because there was a lot of stuff that we saw, and but Hugh is something is actually a resonator. I'm like, wait, this guy's actually pretty good. I don't know.
The Tank
People are
Marvel?
thinking
Yeah.
Yeah. Obviously it'd be solo mode and whatnot, but I would just have to like clarify on like next end of turn and then like end of the next turn. There's like two different things. So just making sure like, okay, like, oh, if I play this guy, okay, I can guarantee that you will not Electro me next turn at least.
Yeah.
So like
Kind of a buffer turn, right?
yeah. So like stuff like that. I think Dealer is interesting just because like Moonglow and being able to
Listen.
like it's like he's like a pseudo Black Witch, right? Like you only get to look at the top 4 instead of like searching.
I'm out here trying to T1.5
Gary.
T1.5 Gary and people.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
like
Yeah. So
listen.
yeah.
You could do it. You literally need
Yeah.
you need a 3-card opener. And you can, as if you're going second, is you need Gary, Nighttime Raiders, and a way to have a resonator that can ping your opponent. If you are going second, you can turn 1 Nighttime Raiders someone, and it feels fantastic. Have a Gary on one.
Absolutely.
It's fine. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. I'm sensing don't cheats coming in from the sideboard. Stop.
If that
No.
was on your bingo card, mark it now.
I would, yeah, if you have it on, go buy them.
New
Go buy
set
them.
bingo.
There you go.
Here come don't cheats.
Yeah, I think dealers just like making Nighttime Raiders suddenly more valuable is, I think, really cool. I agree on Hugh. I think that there's certainly something there. Paul has Giotto, so Paul will have to make Hugh work. but I'm sure he's already got ideas.
Sorry, I just want to add on to that.
Yeah, go for it.
The Jester. Oh my god. Oh my god. Listen.
Which one are we talking about? Are we talking about the Lunar Jester?
The one like hand rips. Like you like look through the opponent's deck, get 3 cards, and put them face down. You do that with like uppercut. Oh, oh my god.
Yeah, they'll be face down though. So like
you just got to name a card.
Yeah, but then you can't. You can't name a card. Like the card won't be known to be there at resolution because it's not face up.
Oh, okay.
Right? Because your opponent doesn't get to look at it. If you grab, that's the funniest thing to me about that card is you grab 3 cards and you don't have to show them to your opponent. Yeah. So you could just pick 3 of their cards and put them face down, and they can't look at them. Like,
that's also fair.
That's hilarious to me. Like, I just took your 3 biggest bombs, or just like off the wall. You just take things that do not matter. You're just like, I'm just gonna mess with them.
It's mind games.
Yeah, I think that's also gonna be crazy. I think Robert Green pre-release is bomb heavy. Agreed. Depths is broken. I think Depths is broken in pre-release if you're playing 15 cards. We are adjusting Depths for our pre-release to be 7 cards because the percentage of like Depths at 40 versus Depths at 20 makes sense at around 7. So you don't get to just have your opening hand and be at Depths. The mill cards are strong and limited. Hope for some of the army in a can kind of cards. Yeah, I think there's some pretty cool stuff going on there too. If no mask, I can just kill a Boonbuku for an Erlingarian. That's true. The problem is I have to resolve a Boonbuku and then resolve a kill spell. Doing it this way, I only ever have to resolve 1 card, and I feel like that's a lot better. So, you know. Paul, what about you? What are your some kind of initial takeaways from the set?
Rukiel really likes her token generators. Probably more than her sea monsters. Bioluminescent eggs is kind of nuts. Also, the fishing spot that you can just like inheritance away and just get a bunch of good stuff is really good too. Best part is she can just recycle those back into the deck too. So it's just cool. They're back in now. And then you just sunken treasure them out.
Ruchiel is the first ruler that I think legitimately calls to question whether the Mulligan rules for Force of Will should be changed. Because there was a time where like Olga, through a lot of complicated work, could make the bottom card of your deck post Mulligan relevant, but it was kind of complicated. Ruchiel just is like, no. 100% of the time from the beginning of the game, the bottom card of my deck matters. So she just like gets a weird advantage for mulligans there, and I don't think anyone would shake a stick at us going to like the same rules that Lorcana does, which is bottom of deck, draw to replace, shuffle. Like that's a very easy like update to the CR, just to be like, yeah, okay, it's like just that hurts no one except prevents Ruchiel from having an unnecessary advantage. Which I think is something that we'll see out of the sea. You know, like, I don't know if that's going to happen, but I do know that I've had conversations about that concept with people who might be able to impact change. You don't want to take that away from Ruchiel? Listen, I do. I don't want.
No, I want her to have that because everything else sucks about her.
Wow. Wow. I will say fun. She does die to high-speed uppercut more than any deck that I've ever seen.
She dies to high-speed uppercut. She dies to herself.
Nice tokens you got there. Would be a shame if I targeted one with a high speed and killed your entire board. Yes. Oh, wait. No, stop. Stop, no. How many times did I wipe your board when we were playing? Like 4? 5 times?
That being said, yes, I have my PR kit, so like I was able to put the deck together, and yeah, there needs to be some interaction with this deck, because wow. It fragile, but powerful. There's something there. There's something there, but it's like if you just toss these cards together, they don't work. You actually have to be smart about your deck building, and you got to know when to step on the gas.
Yeah, for sure.
The other thing we learned real quick.
The other thing is that she honestly also telegraphs her biggest weakness from day one, because she has an ability on her that says, "Don't attack me, bro." And then she's actually like, "Oh, wait, no, wait, waste your time trying to attack me, please. I need you to burn resources because I need to be able to kill you before I kill myself." Like,
Yes.
we played a game. Like I said, Paul got his kit, and so we tested some games against the Alex Adine Life Loss deck that you will see as a feature match later this week. Or you already have seen me play if you're a member on the channel and saw the new POV video. And that whole match was just me going Callstone Pass for the entirety of the match, and then Paul decked himself, and I went, great.
Yep.
Great.
So
I didn't have to swing a single time. I was like, I don't need to.
So how do we stop that?
Yeah.
That was the big question leaving that match.
Girl
How do
staring
we
at,
fix that?
still really good. Turns out when your ruler has imperishable and you judgment into a girl staring at and then get it destroyed, you eventually deck out. Whoops.
Turns out.
Yeah. I think a card that I'm very excited for, just because of the silly shenanigans that are coming out of it, is the Solar Painter, the 2-drop Void that picks an attribute and makes everything that attribute.
Yeah, that one also,
I think it's very silly
my
for
God.
a bunch of different reasons. One, it's actually a boost to every Alice Origins ruler, because you can make the 0-drop Void regalia into whatever color you want them to be, which means that you have that color regalia entering the field for the Alice Origins rulers to trigger. So that's fun. You can also do silly things like, again, you could do something like make everything a darkness ruler and then or darkness card and then cast Mina Harker. So then every resonator entering the board just doesn't get to. Whoops. And because she has barrier black, or she has barrier whatever color she's giving, any spot removal you have in your deck is that color so that you can't target it. So Solar Painter is pretty
I think
unkillable.
my favorite thing you said was turn the rulers into wind rulers.
That is also hilarious.
Mirror
Yeah.
doesn't work.
Mirror, that costs 2. Sorry. Whoops. Sorry for your loss. There's a lot of silly things that happen there. Like, that card just has so many Wanderer implications for like goofy off the wall memes that you'll be able to build. In a world of things like girls staring at, I'm not worried about that deck suddenly, like that card suddenly like taking over, right? Because it still doesn't like protect you from just a deck that's just running natural cancels for the things that you're trying to make a certain color, or a deck that doesn't rely super heavily on things like Smokescreen Bomb or Mirror or anything else. But it's still like, let's open some doors. Yeah, no full cost uppercut anymore. Yeah, you can play a full cost uppercut. No cheap uppercuts anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Lots of cool things.
Cool stuff. I really just enjoyed the set. I've also built Giotto a little bit, and I'm like, holy crap, this ruler just craps on Leon. Like, you don't get to do anything now. Like, you want to remove stuff from the top of your deck? Cool, it's all face down and doesn't matter anymore. Cool.
I think yeah,
ruler's fun.
I think the set as a whole did a really good job of like acknowledging the reworking protocol by giving cards multiple identities. Right? There's a lot of the cards in the main set, I think, that work well directly with the ruler of this set, but then also tangentially work really well with recently reworked protocoled rulers. For instance, there's several cards in the deck that are demons or reference Asmodeus, and he just came out as a reworked protocol ruler, right? There's the Dark Spirit of Bure, like in Viola's package, that references if it's removed from outside the game, like it would be because it's a demon, because of Asmodeus. It does some stuff there. The Overgrowth cards work really nicely with like the Wukong sub-ruler. Like that works really nicely there. Kriya works really nicely with Welser, right? Like it did a really good job of feeling like a very, very full, very complete set, without feeling like anyone got left out or like got shafted with terms of number of support. Like Adine, don't get me wrong, I think Adine Alex is a very, very fun deck. Adine as a solo mode ruler got absolutely shafted last set. Like, he just did not get enough to actually ever play solo. Like, it doesn't make sense. But so you pair him with Alex, and the deck works surprisingly well, as you will watch later this week. But like, that felt like a missed opportunity here. This set doesn't feel like it has any rulers that were missed opportunities. It felt like every single ruler has a space and was like well spoken to, in addition to good generics and good like Wanderer era support. So this feels like a much better hit of a set, which is very exciting. So, and I also get to play Stealth again, so break out the moms and dads. Listen, you tell me I get to set Mom at instant speed and then can trigger her immediately because I didn't fix Stealth? Let's go, boys. Let's go.
It's like, no, we designed it with that in mind. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Sounds good.
Correct. Thank you. Yeah, so I'm excited about that. It does, bring into question, obviously, we haven't dug too deep into our deck building as of yet, because we still are waiting for ban list stuff, which kind of brings us to next point. I have the ban list here on screen, the full ban list here, right up here. It's down at the bottom once we get there. But I would like to talk about kind of our thoughts about what we would like to see hit, and why, kind of as there. Interestingly enough, I do want to do this too, because for people who are here who maybe haven't seen, Force of Will Festival is now, in 2025, is now Force of Will Festival and GP 2025. We have been officially granted a GP to host during the event, which means it has invites to Worlds, 3 invites, non-sponsored invites, guaranteed. If we break 70 players in the main event, we will get a paid invite to First, and then 2 non-sponsored invites. So you definitely are going to be on the lookout for that. And I just got confirmation today that we are going to get official GP pricing for the main event too. So very, very exciting to be able to throw that out there. So I want to put the floor to you guys, mainly because some updates to my thoughts on what I wanted to have banned are changed pretty significantly because of some other news that came out on Friday, which we'll talk about in a minute. But initial kind of thoughts for you guys about things that you think should be the target of the ban list, what you think this ban list should hope to accomplish, any particular specifics of things that you'd want to have changed. Shinpo, we'll start with you.
Number one, Paul and I talked about it earlier before we started. Lehen needs hits. She can't go on as she is now.
Agreed.
She showed her presence at Worlds, and I think we had like 4 out of top 8. Lehen, right?
And finals was a Lehen mirror, right?
Yeah. So definitely, like, at least either just ban her outright, or there's gonna be combo bans probably. I think they're gonna test the waters, if that's my guess. With like Iga probably for sure.
Mm-hmm.
I think like Iga, and then like I don't know, like either like something with like a mirror and dog, or dog and like something like that. I
agree on the hen hit for sure. I'm not quite to ban her outright as of yet, mainly because I'd like to see, and I know Paul just wants her gone, and there are other people who just want her gone, and I hear it. This is why we're having a discussion, right? My piece about why I would like to try some combos for her first is because last ban list actually didn't do anything to her. It just introduced new cards that people thought would be good against her, which then didn't get to see application because people just didn't meta call into it and just like didn't bring them, right? Like Worlds did not have a prevalent presence at Mask didn't have a super prevalent presence at Worlds. Therapist didn't have a super prevalent presence at Worlds. Like these are the things that we thought would be really, really good against her, and we just didn't see them utilized. So now I think it's like, well, we've introduced new tools against her, but we didn't actually hit her. Now let's try to hit something for her. Actually try hitting something for her and seeing if that matters, is kind of why my perspective, rather than just jump straight to ban. So, and then, so here's my piece about what I think you actually do to Lehen to try it. And We try it for 3 months, and if it's truly not that much of a like, if she's still truly that good, then sure, axe her after that point in time. But I think it's you combo ban her with Ega Stone, which is what I've been saying for a very long time. I think that card is way too good when you give it quick cast. It's just way too good. And I think you combo ban Mirror and Dog. And I do that as the change because it makes the starter deck still incredibly playable, because all you have to do is replace 4 cards, and whichever 4 cards you want to replace, you just put 4 Kikis into it. So it's very easy to suddenly make the starter deck still very playable because you don't have to replace much. And then you make Lehen choose between oops, accidental aggro, but 0 protection, or all protection, but no early pressure, right? No accidental free pressure. And so when you take a deck and prevent him from having free pressure and protection, then I think you take a lot of her steam away and make her a lot more counterplayable. And I think you will see that players will drift off of wanting to use her because there are more effective control decks and there are more effective pressure decks. So that's what I would like to see for Lehen personally. I think those are very easy changes to hit. And then if she's still too good after that point, which I don't think she will be, then ban her to hell. But like, I think you try a combo ban with her first.
Yeah, I think the only issue I see with like the 3-month wait, like to see what happens, is that we don't really have like major events. So people aren't really gonna bring out, like, if I'm being honest, like their full on spice. They
Sure.
save GPs because like that's where it will like really matter.
But then we have like, that's the other thing too, is like, I think this is a time to try a combo ban rather than a full ban, because it is off season and because there's going to be at least one more full set on top of T3 before we get to actual primary competitive season. So like, another full set of tools that we haven't seen that might be even better against her, especially if she's in a weakened state, is like, I just don't think because we're going into off season, I don't think you need to like full kill her right now. I think you could just effectively kneecap some of her best tools and call it a day. Paul disagrees with me. Paul disagrees with me entirely, and that's fine. Paul and I can disagree entirely. Yeah, combo ban Kiki and Co-Spirit. Yeah. Continue.
Yeah, I think people are just so here's the thing.
I'm listening.
When taken in a vacuum, Leon as a ruler says, put treasures in your deck.
Sure.
If you call stones, if you play the game of Force of Will, you will see more cards than your opponent, which means you will have more momentum than your opponent.
Sure.
Which means you will have more plays than your opponent.
Sure.
And that fundamentally, like, I've been in this game 10 years, man.
I understand.
That's never gone over well.
I understand. I understand. I get you. I hear you. I mean, like on
listen, that principle alone,
I'm not gonna be able to convince you that my choice versus your choice is correct here. You've stuck your flagpole in a stance where you're willing to die on the hill. Respect, 100% respect that. Okay. I'm just not on the same hill as you on this one, and that's okay.
No, I understand. And ultimately, I mean, it really doesn't matter all that much to me. I also just know that silver bullets against deck is not usually the answer to deck being good.
Sure, that's why I want her to have actual hits. like I'm not saying leave her alone. I'm saying take away some of her best tools and see what happens.
That's where you and I agree. Like, if there's going to be any sort of combination bans, it needs to be with her best tools.
Yeah.
And otherwise, it doesn't matter at all.
I agree.
So, yeah, that's where I'm at.
Okay.
Just act.
So we've talked about Lehen. Back to Shunpo. Any other things that have kind of jumped out to you as you've been thinking about this ban list?
I don't know about a hard ban, but either like an errata or some combo bans to it. Mask.
Yeah. Just take the race part off of it.
Yeah.
So that tribal decks can play tribal again.
No.
Or ban it, or full ban it at this point. Don't we? As a glorious player, I get it, but
either or, honestly.
It's fine. Card's great. I like it, but also I'm okay with it going away.
Yeah.
I think it's had more of a. it's not seeing a lot of play because it's inherently been something that the player base in general has just like not even appreciated adapting to it.
We'll see.
Like the community has just like not enjoyed adapting to it. And so at that point in time, it's like, well, it's just not seeing play. So just axe it.
No.
Yeah, I agree with Jeremy Lindley. Just give it the full axe. It's not too strong. It's just not too fun.
Right.
No.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
yeah,
The
there have been games where I've gotten Mask and it's just felt awful.
like the adjustment to play around Mask existing has not, as a whole, as a scope, has not had a very positive impact on the environment. And so at that point in time, just acknowledge a mistake, move it right along, and say it's okay. It's okay because we have another Mask
Yeah.
that doesn't
body.
remove races and is cancelable.
Should
It
we
doesn't
talk
get.
about.
We're
I
gonna
feel
get
like
to
we
it.
should talk about the.
We're gonna get to it.
edits,
We're gonna get to it.
because that will affect the
We're gonna
things
get
that
to
we
it.
want to ban, right?
So yeah, we will talk about it real quick. So the announcement finalizing the ABC decks talked about how the fact that they applied the reworking protocol to 22 cards in the ABC decks, alongside minor tweaks to other cards, things like adding a race, clarifying that, bringing things up to language that works with an ABC format, right? Things like the Hyde and Reinhardt now creating the EX area when they convoke, stuff like that. Some slight tweaks to things like things hitting J resonators instead of just resonators, or board wipes hitting J resonators instead of just resonators. Some changes to races, like little tiny tweaks. Those have all come out. And so some of those are pretty significant changes to cards, like actual rework protocols, and some of them are tiny tweaks. I made my previous ban list prediction list before I knew that all of these were happening. And the free Olympians. And then and some of those changed things that I wanted to see on the ban list, but also a lot of them reinforced things that I wanted to come off of the ban list as well. There's no reason to keep this on the ban list now because of the changes to cards coming. So we're going to talk about those specifically in a little bit. But I do want to say, any other thoughts aside from the known changes that we'll talk about that are things that are in your mind, things that should be talked about or addressed by the ban list?
I can't decide if this card is going to be controversial or not.
I'm listening. I'm here.
Electra Shooting Star of Fire.
Nah, put her in the bin. Get her out of here. She's on my list. I want her gone.
She's on Pat's list.
She's
She
on
was
my
telling
list.
me this morning.
She's on my list. She's lazy.
Freaking hate Electra.
She's lazy. My problem is that she's lazy and too fast. Because we have cards that are we have cards like Guardian Dragon that just make turn 3 Electras, and it's not even the end of it. And Electra herself has just become kind of the lazy end game of any control deck. So I'm like, meh. In the same vein, I want Pumpkin Witch and Black Witch combo band,
yeah.
or hear me out. I will accept, instead of combo banning Pumpkin and Black Witch, which is a thing that even back in the day with Witch Train, I was like, can we not have this anymore? I would like the CR updated so that searching from side deck is the same as searching from deck, so that Black Witch can't grab Black Witch, right? So that Black Witch can grab Pumpkin Witch, but that's it. You can't go grab Black Witch into Black Witch into Black Witch into Black Witch into Pumpkin Witch. I'm like, that's fine. If you want to let it so that she can't grab another copy of herself, and so you get this back pocket 700 damage, give my board swiftness and flying, fine. But don't make 1-drop 1900 attack in the air, quick cast speed. Come on. It's lazy, it's boring, it's dumb. Get it out of here. So that's my thought about Electra. Paul seems to want it to stay, according to you in the chat. I'm curious to hear your thoughts. Hear me out.
Kind of. She feels good to play. That's all.
Yeah, but she stifles creativity. Dark Hydra puts up. Yeah, I agree. Get rid of lazy lethals, right? Dark Hydra puts it there. Electra stifles creativity, right? It's just kind of why would I do anything else when I could just play an Electra and kill you?
Like, can I cheat Will in some way? Cool, Electra.
Yeah, exactly. Right. It's just like it stifles creativity. Richard, I would still ban
Yeah,
Pumpkin Witch for the
that's fair.
same reason Sprinting Steward got banned. I mean, I think there's something to be said about that as well, right? I think I want something to happen to Witch Train. I would like it combo banned. I would accept that CR change, right? I think it's kind of my perspective on that one. To just get rid of the lazy lethals. I agree. Another video where we can talk about banning red staples. Listen, red has actually a lot of really good tools that aren't just Electra. And if you're trying to tell me that Electra is a red staple, I'd like to tell you that Electra is a every color staple if you can get to 4 stones. Like that, it's not a red staple. It's a control finish. It's a control finisher more than it is, because the aggro decks trying to hyper slam Electra most of the time aren't successful. It's the control decks who go, "Oops, Electra, you're dead. I have a million will to protect it." And you're just like, yeah, okay.
Like Leon. Just axe her. Axe the mommies.
Okay, anyway. Any other major cards, Shudbro?
I think those are like the main ones, honestly, that I can like really think of.
Yeah.
Because like I had like Little Maria on my list, but then like we found out Little Maria got changed.
We'll talk about that. Yeah, for sure.
So it's like
those are my major ones. Paul, any ones that we missed for you? Any thoughts?
I don't think so. I think really that's really it. Everything else has felt really fine.
Yeah, I agree.
Fair.
Here's my list. I'm gonna take things off of the list that I feel like are. I'm gonna keep unbans off the list that I feel like are very obvious, because of changes that we'll talk about here in a second. So we'll talk about this. I don't want Ragnarok to be legal and standard. The new Ragnarok is absolutely fine.
Fine.
He's so much better than he was before.
He's so much more fair.
He's so much more fair. So, I want... Here are my unbans. This is my list, and you can feel free to disagree with me. Layla plus Ethereal Moonchild. I'd like those brought off the list. Asuka plus Contract I'd like brought off the list and feel like it's going to happen in 2 seconds because of a change to Iga. I'd like to swap Brandheart and Flaming Thoughts to Thoughts plus the big explosion spell, the Cyclone. So don't let Brandheart have his Graceful Charity, but don't let him have the big free explodey spell. Make him choose where he gets to have a big free explodey spell but no gas, or all gas but no big free explodey spell. Like, that's kind of where I'm at, and that's what I thought it should have been way back in the day. So I'd like to see that change to that. Combo ban Min plus Ragnarok. That's fair. That's correct.
Number one on my list.
That's correct. I forgot to say that too. Yeah,
that's a must-have.
Thoughts would help all his color combos in the 7-star rulers. Exactly, right? I like, you take away the big explodey spell, but you give him like the hyper draw, and suddenly like Brandheart combinations open up a lot more in the 7-star package. I think it's a very easy change. We have a lot more stuff to mess with draw power. We have a lot more stuff to mess with like other burn stuff. But like the free explodey spell is just like, maybe not. Bans we already talked about: Electra, Shooting Star, and Mask, or Errata it. I also had Little Maria on my list, but she no longer needs a ban. We'll talk about that. Lehen plus Ega Stone, Dog plus Mirror. I'd like to ban Statue of the Misty Dragon and Jade Amulet.
Oh yeah, I
Gross.
That card is the most will card positive I've seen in years. Because Ega Statue or Jade Amulet is untouchable. So you can't stop it. It will. So it costs 2, right? It ramps you a stone into play tapped, but it also refunds you 1 will immediately because it's a regalia that can be tapped for will immediately. So it's will neutral, if not will positive, because of generating a stone. You can then use Misty's Dragon Statue, which goes to bottom of deck at resolution, off of the Jade Amulet to flicker the Jade Amulet, which then comes back into play at the end of the turn, getting you another stone and coming into play recovered, so you can use it immediately again. So overall, it's plus 2 to 3 will value permanently for the whole game on an untouchable card combination, plus Misty Statue, which goes to the bottom of the deck to be used again. So I just think that is just a little too good. It opens up a lot
Yeah.
of really gross things, and I just like to see that get axed. We saw it happen at Worlds. Like, we saw it get used at Worlds, which I was like, I wasn't surprised by it. Like, I knew that was a thing going into Worlds. It was just a matter of who picked up on it and was trying to use it. And JPK and the German players on Lehen used it. It's gross. So I want that gone. I already said Witch plus Pumpkin. I need the new key, Gate of the Silver Key, and Zeus Alice to get combo banned. Because she will become a priest, which means that her pay 5 RFG any entity becomes 0 cost at instant speed as many times as you want during a turn. So I'd like that to just not be a thing that happens. And then I did mention this. I'm not sold on this needing to happen. This is kind of like my like fringe maybe kind of a thing, especially since with some of the other changes that we've seen. Is Gruus plus Ragstone. I'm like on the fence on that one, particularly because of some of the erratas that just came out that we'll talk about. That I think actually take away some of the power of Gruus Ballesta stuff that we've been seeing pop up. So I think I'm like, okay, maybe give it back. Maybe let him keep it, right? But like that's like on my fringe list there. I think it's a neat tech, but I also think I'm just like, is it necessarily too much? I'm not sold on it. Like, I'm not heavily advocating for it, but if it happened, I wouldn't be sad. Does that make sense?
No.
Yeah, so those are my things that I'd like to see changed. Those are some unbans. There's a lot of other unbans that happen because of the changes that we're about to see. And I know some people were like, oh, Mood Start. Nah, fam. We're good. The new regalia that's coming out, the Grimoire Ruler, I think is going to have the star scale impact, which is just like, you will feel scared playing again. Like, it will not necessarily feel as comfortable to play Mood Start so confidently, to play 6 edge combinations so confidently, especially because I think that the Grimoire has infinite more application than Star Scale does, with like it also being something that lets you draw cards, it also being something that lets you prevent life loss. Like, it's not good just against tag combos, so it's like infinitely more sideboardable than Star Scale is. So I think you can let Mood Start hang around for a bit. So
yeah,
we got a lot of cards.
Okay, Patrick. It's okay, Patrick.
I got a lot of cards.
You should get banned.
I got a lot of cards here. A lot of things got changed. A lot of things got updates. A lot of things are different.
Do you have
things.
JPEGs of those?
I do not. I don't have them yet, but I have them. I'm gonna read them. So,
okay.
Before we get into exactly what each of these does, reading through all of them.
Log in the chat.
Reading through all of them, I like what pretty much all of them are doing. A lot of them make sense. Some of them are not necessarily things that I think I would have done, or like I get what they're going for. I don't necessarily know if I would have done it, but I'm not like upset by it, especially because you think about it in the mission of trying to reduce the overall ban list. I will go on record here in saying that the rollout of this has not been the smoothest, especially given the amount of cards that we have seen that have changes, and we'll go through this here. It was mentioned in the article that they were applying the rework protocol to a bunch of things, but it did not say in that article what all the changes were going to be. And then we did not get a list of all the changes on release of the APC decks. So it comes into kind of compiles on a previous problem we have, is that there are erratas, but there's not really an easy way to look them up. So unless you notice them on the card, it's difficult. Now, that being said, we've been told that a effective page with all the erratas is coming, so that's helpful. We've also been told one of the other biggest complaints that I heard from other people was access to these updated cards is locked to the ABC deck. So if you don't want those, you're kind of screwed. Well, the article also talks about that and the fact that these are probably going to be the cards that are included in like the normal rare slots for the Masterpiece 2. So we will be able to get these a lot easier, and they will be plentiful. And I literally have a box of Masterpiece Collection 1, like normal rare reprints, that's like this long. like it's 1,000 count box. So I'll have these for players to have. It's okay. So that being said, I want to talk about some of these cards. Some of them are small changes, some of them are big changes, and kind of give our thoughts on them as we go. Some decks have more changes than others, like the green-white deck, in terms of primary changes, just has the one that I could see, which was Foot Kaguya. She now only draws once per turn for moons. She can't draw every single time a moon comes into play. It's only once per turn does it trigger to draw a moon on her front side. So takes some of the craziness there. Insert and rate how much we've seen. Like, would you like to be told what is coming, or stealth errata is my answer to those comments, as it looks like they want to do it. Yeah, for sure. So, Foot Kaguya. So in the light green deck, Foot Kaguya no longer draws every single time you enter a moon. Sure, it was a little bit egregious that she could do silly things with that, with Wolfstone and like all the moon generation tokens, and just make so many cards. That's fair. Wind Servant of Ragnarok has been updated to match Ragnarok in the fact that he requires recovering of stones instead of producing will. So you can't just be like, well, on turn 1, I'll flash in a Wind Servant of Ragnarok and produce 3 will. You don't have 3 stones. You don't get that advantage yet. You have to actually wait to use him, which I also think is a great change. Stop me as I'm going through these if there's ones that you guys particularly want to talk about. As the Iga player, as a fellow Hyde player here with Shunpo, Iga, the village, has been changed to now its cheat-in ability is a named ability with a cost of 1 white and is a hard once per turn. So it goes from being free reveal cheat-in, do it as many times as you want, to pay 1 cheat-in once per turn. I really like that change personally. Like, I think it makes it a lot more fair and allows you to bring something like Rocket Dive plus Iga off the ban list. Mm-hmm. So, like, I think that's a really easy change to make.
Oh, please.
Because it's still, because I'll also say this, It's still will neutral. Because it pays 1 and flashes in and then is active to be able to be tapped, right? So it's still will neutral. It's not will positive.
Totally fine.
It's just not will positive. And I'm like, yeah, okay. I'm okay with this. Iga can auto pay for itself. Yeah, you can still do that. You absolutely can. Not auto. So
yeah, I'm not sure what that.
You have to.
It doesn't come into the field and then you pay the will. That's not how that works.
So the way it you still have to pay 1 essentially. But it's still will neutral because the Iga could. So like if you have 2 will, you could reveal it, flash it in, float the will, let it go face down, burn 1 coin, recast, play it. At that point in time, you might as well just hard cast it because it costs 2 will. But it's still, the card is still true will neutral and provides all the advantage that Hyde wanted of quick cast things. Great, seems fine to me. So I like that change a lot. A noticeable one that is different is 2 cards in the red-white deck, which is Red Wine and Bread and Artillerist of Faith. Red Wine and Bread now has the same type of text as Sudden Manifestation of Power, that if you cheat in a stone with it, you don't get to put stones in for the rest of the turn. Everything else about the card is unchanged. Great. As someone who has had someone go Red Wine and Bread, cast Red Wine and Bread, cast Red Wine and Bread, kill you, I'm just like, I'm okay with not having that sequence in the event, in the game. So like I'm okay with that. Artillerist is a big change to Artillerist. It no longer can hit face. It can only hit resonators, and it only draws if you discard. Listen, I was on the ban of actually just choosing. I was wanting Artillerist probably just hard banned. It doesn't need it anymore. I'm not sure how I feel about it, but rip Artillerist on that one for sure. But the amount of cheese ways it's killed is like, Yeah, I'm okay. I'm also kind of okay with it.
White burn deck, go brr.
Magna the split card can now put counters on sub rulers, which is interesting. The reason why that's interesting is because it can now accelerate the 1001 Nights sub ruler bonus win con with Alf Layla because you can put stories counters on it. So that's fun. And then Raging Messiah now has Inheritance. Another pitch discard inheritance update. It's still playable, yeah, but good riddance. Yeah, I'm in the same kind of boat. Recon Gears now can't reveal a Wind Gears from outside the deck game, so it doesn't work with Squirrel anymore, which means that combo ban is probably happening. Like, it's probably going to be taken off, right? Because it can't reveal Squirrel anymore. Some few noticeable ones from the red-black. We have Interdimensional Graveyard is now a Grave Edition. My green-black deck is very happy because I'm now going to put Sigurd back in it because I have a Grave Edition for me to grab. Interdimensional Graveyard, which is very, very good at ABC, but it's a neat little tweak. So we have another Grave for Sigurd to grab. Recon Gears can reveal Living Armor, who reveals Squirrel. Maybe that combo still stays.
Clip this, send it to the company right now.
Fine, whatever. Anyway, moving on. Zhuge Liang now only produces will if you have a fire effect you control deal damage to yourself. So you can't like double up your will off of a null magic stone and silly things like that. Which, while hasn't been competitively applied, let's just take those off the table, please. Some of those silly Zhuge loops are annoying as hell. So I'm okay with them not being possible anymore. Valentina.
So magic arrow can still.
You can ping yourself with a magic arrow. Yeah. If you really wanted to do that, you can ping yourself with a magic arrow because it's a fire effect. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Red Riding Hood Crimson Wolf does not have the same effect text as Red Wine. It does not lock you to more stones. You can absolutely cheat in 2 stones and then get as many other stones as you want off of Little Red. I specifically looked. It does not. I literally double checked because it's in the ABC text. It does not have that text. And unless I'm absolutely blind, but I didn't see that text on it. Valentina the Twilight Princess. Envious Dragon now gets any non-enter keywords. That's a small, I guess that doesn't necessarily change much of that. Valentina now puts cards back as part of her cost, which is incredibly relevant because previously it was pay 0 : so you moved back as part of the resolution of the effect, which meant you like got into this weird staring contest with Lehen decks where you both constantly activated a 0 cost ability of infinite times to try to stop the other person from getting anything. But now Valentina specifically puts them back as part of her cost, which I think is interesting. Also, weird application for this for Giotto, because it doesn't care what, you can just put cards back from your opponent's RFG even if they're face down. So that's neat. Especially since there's the Wanderer, like there's probably a tag Gil Lapis coming with her at some point, so that's kind of cool. That was funny though. Stop. Grand Leon now is Inheritance for both of his effects instead of that. Voice of the False God now actually destroys instead of banishes, so it actually works with Joan d'Arc 10 years later. Came out in set 1, this card, and has been banished when Joan d'Arc wants destruction from set 1, and now is destroy, which is what she wants.
That's a Mika buff, right?
That is also a Mika buff because it's destruction. Yeah. Aspiring Diva, it accomplishes the same thing, to be fair, just not with a loop. No, it actually is Valentina favored now instead of a net tie with Lehen and Valentina. Valentina actually is wins the exchange every time at this point. Yeah, finally, Alejandro. Come on. Here we go. Aspiring Diva now only grabs Music Chance and only produces Will for Music Chance. Rip all you people trying to grab Mirror on turn 1.
Boo.
Mood Start got an update to be much more clear in the fact that now it's whenever a J ruler enters the field under your control, you draw a card, not when you perform the judgment effect of a ruler. So this just means that like you can make J ruler tokens and draw cards with Mood Start now, which is neat. So that's neat. And then Green Blue got 6.
Yikes.
Green Blue got 6 actual big ones, which is crazy to me. So Eternal Assaulted Archipelago now has the exact same kind of you can't put magic stones in after you use its effect, and is now only usable during a main phase. So you can't like tap it before recovery, get a stone, recover, tap it again, kind of a thing.
You say that one more time.
Eternal the Archipelago, the Assaulted Archipelago. It now has the if you cheat in a stone with it, you can't get any more stones kind of clause that like Red Wine and Sudden Manifestation have, and is now only usable during a main phase, not any time. Duplication Mirror now only copies something if it was played, not if it was cheated in. So that can come off the ban list immediately. Little Maria is now a hard once per turn because it's a named ability and you may only perform the effect of one Legacy of Boost ability per turn. So it is a hard OPT, which is the way it should have been from the beginning. So she doesn't need to go on the ban list anymore. I'm going to save the best one for last.
Question on that real quick.
Yeah, go for it.
Do you think then Fault Gold and her get on combo ban?
I think there's maybe a world where you could. I think you could shift her to not being on the ban list at all. I do think maybe you keep it still with her because like free searches just by tapping, maybe. But like all of the things that have been the most annoying with her have been these like the things that have been the most the things that have been the most annoying off of single search have been Artillerist. Everything else has been like using it to start a loop. And if you can't start a loop anymore, then it's like, okay. So I think you give that back to Grim decks to like uncombo ban it. I think that's probably fine. Now that it's like a straight hard once per turn, like it does not go any further. Sacred Burial no longer draws you a card. Functionally the same card no longer draws you a card. Spirit of Calmness is now once per turn to remove counters from it to draw a card. So also, let's just take stupid, unnecessary loops out of the game. Appreciate you. Rip Matthew Lindley trying to kill people with Falcon Spirit of Calmness combo. And then truly the best one, truly the best change. And I will not take any questions, and I will not hear anyone say otherwise, is that Prison in the Lunar Lake now hits J rulers.
Yeah.
Let's go, baby!
No!
We can cancel J ruler enters and kill them with Prison.
Okay.
That's so good. It's such a buff.
Okay.
Oh, I guess we did talk about one. We didn't talk about one. So Guinevere, this one, okay. I'll save this one for last because this one to me really caught me off guard. And I think this is the only one of the changes that I am legitimately annoyed by. I know Alejandro's in the chat, and I love you very much, Alejandro. I don't know necessarily how much of an influence you had over this change to Guinevere, but this is the only one that like legitimately annoys me. But I also think it does give you an avenue to ban Mask, if I'm just saying. So Guinevere used to say, if you control this Resonator, your opponent has to pay one more to play cards during your turn, or activate abilities during your turn. If this card is a machine, your opponent pays 3 instead. So it's pretty taxing and set up some potentially toxic like coin shenanigan things with Deus Ex Machina. I get it. So now she lost that entire first effect. It's gone, fully gone. And now she says players gain as an additional cost to play a non-resonator spell, pay 1, and as an additional cost to play an activate ability, pay 1. So it's a flat mask tax across the board to both players, regardless of if she's ordered or not. Her revolution is the same. The problem is you pay it without paying its cost, but then you still have to pay the 1 tax. So her revolution, like, functionally doesn't work. Weirdly. Because you'd have to still pay 1. So it's now essentially play a 3 cost that you've named off the top by paying 1 will instead of the 3 or whatever. And so there's been some discussion about, like, leave a card banned, make a new card. This is the only one of the changes that I agree with that stance. That we could have just banned the old Gwen and make a new card instead of trying to rework Gwen. This is, like, in my opinion, the only miss. When you, like, if we take away favoritism, if we take away preference, if we take away bias, if we're just looking at pure card changes, in my brain, this is the only miss. The only true miss. Because this is functionally and conceptually an entirely different card than it was before. It's even counterintuitive to its own self. And while less inherently toxic than the potential was with Gwen, it could have been we could have just made a brand new card. Or make a new Guinevere and just ban the old Spacetime Guinevere, right? That's my perspective on that. I'll open the floor to you guys on the overall changes, anything in specific, any card in specific you want to talk about, or anything else like that.
Yeah, I mean, so I think, like, the biggest complaint I also saw with people was just, like, it was a lot of erratas, and the fact that I think it was, like, a surprise, right? My belief, like, just like over the years, knowing, like, people can handle, like, I don't mean to say, like, bad, but, like, in quotes, like, heavy quotes, like, bad news, but people can't really handle surprises per se. Like, if they were already, like, if we were told, like, hey, this is what's going to be happening, and then we also have, like, a list of erratas, like, already there to show, like, hey, this is what we got going on, I think it would have been handled, like, at least by community, I think it would have been a little bit easier to take in, I guess, for some people. But because it was kind of like we didn't really know this until people started opening up stuff.
Yeah.
I can see why it ruffled some feathers.
It's this idea of, like, in psychology, it's this idea people will accept a small change more than they'll accept a big change.
Yeah.
And so I think, and while Alahadra's in the chat, and while, like, Alahadra's in the chat, and I know that Alejandro and I have been involved in every conversation in the Discord since then, that has been going on because it's been blowing up several days in a row. Yes, the articles were there that mentioned, like, hey, we're going to apply the reworking protocol to 22 cards. Hey, this is coming. Like, the ABC decks are going to bring an update for sure. But there's not like that wasn't, like, super well projected into the environment, like a lead in ahead of time. We didn't get much, like, time to brace ourselves or really the scope of what that meant. And so I think we didn't have a chance to have this turn into a small change. It was just a big change. And so when it was a big change and it was a surprise, that was not an immediate list alongside the release of, like, hey, by the way, here's a convenient list of everything. It was just players going through the cards going, wait a minute, this card's different. Wait a minute, this card's different. It put a lot of the work on processing and even discovering the breadth of the news on the players, which I think left a bad taste in players' mouths.
Yeah.
So I think that's, kind of the one piece here of it all. Because I do think, I think I like a lot of the changes. Like, I like a lot of them. In terms of, like, we talked about how duplicate. Like, I remember having conversations about pretty much all of these cards being either, like, unfortunately unplayable because of how they originally worded based on or continuously supported, or being like, yeah, I think there's a world where this card gets banned. Like, or like, it's either to me, these changes did a lot of like, for the most part, I'll say in like 85% of them, pulled them away from being ban worthy and up from being unplayable. Like it like narrowed the scope of them, for me personally. So yeah, that's my perspective. Paul, what about you?
I'm kind of on the same thing. People don't like surprises because they like, well, hey, this sort of happened without my consent or knowledge.
Sure.
And I think there's one thing that the community really values, and it's that iSpy is a company that is operating very differently than a lot of other trading card game companies.
Yeah.
Especially like the big, I'd say a majority of the big three operate in this kind of like weird, shady, like we're doing this behind your back kind of stuff. And I think a lot of people left those companies and left those games because they didn't like, in part, how the games are run by the company. And
Right.
it's small overall. I think eventually, as this like translates into long-term changes and people get used to the changes, they're gonna be like, oh yeah, these all make sense. It's really more of the like the pathological feeling, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I just want to be able to trust this company is what people, I imagine, are saying.
Roll out an
This
access.
is just like, ugh. Yeah, and like someone even just saying like it's weird how we it's weird how they just didn't make a video about that. It's like it's kind of the same thing. It's just a messaging error.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And it's like it just gives you a lot of unnecessary hassle.
Yeah, for sure. But like
It's kind
the
of
the interesting thing for me is I do want to kind of point out, because I'm here on the ban list, right? The applications because of these changes. I just want to talk about how many things are going to change on the ban list, right? So
I've been tallying that as we've been talking.
so cards that are going to get removed, right? So let's bring up the tally of what's going to get removed. Interdimensional Vessel Apollo is coming off because we've already seen it. Fairy of Solaris Ire comes off because we've already seen it. Child of the Fire Moon comes off because we've already seen it. Sudden Manifestation of Power comes off because we've already seen it. Likey on the Magic Academy, that's 5. Magical Dragon is 6. I could see a world where Melfi might come off the ban list, 7, but I'm not entirely sold on that one. 7. So 6. It's like 6 is obvious. 6 so far is obvious. Wellster is 7. Asmodeus is 8. Echidna is 9. Ethereal is 10. Killua is 11. Sigurd is 12. Typhon is 13. Zombie is 14. Ainz is 15. Ragnarok 16. Wolf's Night doesn't come off yet, so we're at 16, right? And then Fault Gold plus Little
cards.
Maria is 17. That gets to come off. Dupe Mirror and Trials comes off. That's 18. Null Magic Stone and Shuge Leon comes off. That's 19. Layla Maiden and Ethereal Moon. That's 20. Spirit of Calmness and Shooting Star 21. Artillerist and Raging Messiah 22. Guinevere and Dexia's Advice come off. That's 23. Asuka, I didn't talk about this, but Asuka and her contract can probably come off. That's 24. I honestly think that you could, with all the new tools, you could let Asuka have her contract back. Sacred Burial and Aspiring Diva, that's 25. Squirrel and Recon, that's 26. Iga and Rocket Dive, that's 27. Little Maria and Gate of Refarth, that's 28. Branhart, we're replacing that, so that's still 28. So that's 28 of the 68 things on the ban list
are
just gone. Like we literally are reducing the ban list by almost half by doing these changes. That's pretty significant. Like that's a pretty huge chunk all in one fell swoop.
And not all of them are off yet from being on the rework.
Oh, Child of the Ethereal Moon got changed so you can only banish Ethereal Resonators. Yeah. Great, easy, piece of cake. Bring it off. Done.
Cool.
Like that immediately comes off, right? Like there's it is going to smooth a bunch of stuff there. I think there's like those are very easy changes to have happened. Again, it's one of these things where like it is the pathological piece, right? It's just like no one necessarily knew the scope of it. It wasn't super well communicated, and so therefore it's a miss. But when you actually like apply when you take the scope out of it, and when you consider the changes, the changes that are being made to the cards, and the fact that cards will be available in Masterpiece 2, so ease of access for the cards, like overall implications are pretty good for what it will bring to the environment, to the space. So, I get it. It's like it's another 6 or 7 out of 10. Right? Like it's another decision that feels like a 6 to 7 out of 10. And call me a optimist, but if I have a company that continues to make decisions that are 7 out of 10s or better, like that's certainly not going to push me anywhere. Like I'm going to keep sticking around because Paul and I played card games where every decision by the company was a 2 out of 10 and we stopped playing that game. Right? I think if these items went through the reworking protocols, yeah, exactly. It's a communication piece, right? Which we talked about way back in the beginning of the reworking protocol stuff of like Carlina was not the card to introduce to the reworking protocol. Like we learned of her errata before we knew the reworking protocol existed, and then still didn't get any of her support. So we were all like, "What?" This feels very much in a similar vein of that, of like the information was there, but it wasn't super like projected, and so and it's not very clean. So we're all like, "Wait, what?" Like we're in that stage, the what stage. Feels very similar, but in terms of like actual implications of these, like I like most of them. I think a lot of them are very good. I don't know.
Yeah,
That's my piece.
We can have good decisions poorly messaged.
Yeah.
And it's not great, right? Please, I Spy, please learn from this, and please don't do this anymore. Like order information correctly, and I'm sure there are some people that can, consult about like if there's any like bridges that need to be built around like how do we not message this incorrectly. I'm sure there are plenty of people attached to the community who'd be willing to say something about that. But yeah, just order information a little bit better. I think we'll be all right if we do that. I mean, again, these weren't bad decisions. Some of these cards are like straight up better, and some of them are aspiring diva. Why?
Listen,
the answer for your crimes, I Spy. I'm so mad.
It's okay, buddy. It's okay. The best change by far is X the Black Cat is now a cat. Agreed. No, sorry. The best change now is that Sigurd is now no. The best change by now is really that Sigurd is now actually a king. He's our king now.
I thought the best decision was that Lunar Lake hit.
That's true. That's the real best decision.
Yeah.
Listen to me. Card's so good.
Yeah.
I mean, I could set this during my opponent's turn.
Right?
What?
Well, it says a lot that we have to debate about what was the best thing, right?
In terms of like, yeah. So like the list overall is just like some of them is just like straight up cleaning things up, right? And I get this using this opportunity to clean up language, clean up racial stuff that like when Interdimensional Graveyard came out, we were like. When we saw the Sigurd release, we were like, oh, we can grab Interdimensional Graveyard. Wait, it's not a graveyard. And then, wait, yeah, it is a graveyard.
Oh, it is now. Cool.
It is now. Like, cleans things up. Or like the rework for Ragnarok is like, oh yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Like, it's like things that cleaned things up, made it easier to read, easier to comprehend. Like, we literally had a player at locals last week get confused about Moojstart drawing a card when a judgment has happened.
Yeah.
Now we do not have to.
Hooray.
Clarify language, right?
Yeah.
So, I think there's some very easy things to follow this up with like getting an official errata list. If this has to happen in the future, maybe do like 1 or 2 or 3 cards at the time. Heavily announce it, please and thank you. Just like little things.
Just little things.
Oh yeah, the minor change to the Void Will being made from the Void Mana Dorks. Yeah, so now the gears, like the void will symbol, is now kind of used across the board. Like on the new void magic stones and the void mana dorks now actually produce gears attributes, which is nice. That's a subtle thing, but it's nice. We had that Moonshot rolling at Worlds, yeah, for sure. So yeah, I mean, there's a lot of exciting stuff that come in it. I'm excited to play some ABC stuff. I'm excited to play some ABC stuff here in the channel that's coming up. Yeah, it's good. Any kind of closing thoughts from you guys before I do into like closing announcements?
Just communication is key.
For sure.
Any good relationship starts and ends with communication.
It's true. It's true.
And any bad relationship doesn't communicate.
It's true. Also true.
Cite middle school relationship.
Cite my entire schooling as a marriage, couples, and family therapist.
Correct.
So just a few announcements again. We'll have details up as a post. You can check our posts right now, but signups are now live for the December 21st Ruler School Circuit. That is happening over on our Discord server, December 21st and December 22nd. It is the Q4 kit, so it is the Wuxia Wu and Empower suit. You can also go find the Force of Will Festival information over on Facebook, Force of Will Festival and GP 2025. It's been posted in Force of Will Global and in all the Discords. Start getting information about hotels and everything else, because you're certainly not going to want to miss that event. It's going to be insane, especially now that it's a Grand Prix and has invites to Worlds. And then this week we will have getting fully caught up on deck profiles. You will also get to see we're going to try something a little bit different for pre-release this week. We're going to try it as my point of view for the entirety of pre-release. So like kind of like POV vlog style that we're going to do as our pre-release experience instead of the top down. So we'll see how that goes. But there will be a feature matchup this week as well, getting us caught up on deck profiles. And then on Wednesday, you will also get to see my double box opening of this set.
Hey.
So that's pretty exciting. There's some pretty cool stuff in there. And I think that just about does it for us. So do stuff, buy stuff, play stuff, and we'll check back in next week when we find out what the ban list is. We'll see if we were right. We'll see if Paul versus myself and Shunpo were right about what they do to Len. Because it's like Team Shunpo versus Team Paul.
Oh my God.
We'll see who got it right. But that's it for us tonight. So thank you all so much for watching. And until next time, this has been myself, DMO73, and I've been joined by Paul Reisman.
Back to Blue Percy, and communication is key.
And Shunpo.
Have a good night and happy Thanksgiving.
Happy Thanksgiving, everybody. Class dismissed.